Our Bible word is Matthew 17, verses 15 to 16. Lord, have mercy on my son, for he is an epileptic and suffers severely. For he often falls into the fire and often into the water. So I brought him to your disciples, but they could not cure him. So this is Jesus. He heals a boy with epilepsy. And if we see this account of Jesus, or it's also described as being demon-possessed. And if we see this account, it appears in the three, what is known as the synoptic gospels. In other words, because they are seen together, because they often have parallel accounts. So this account appears in Mark 9, verses 14 to 29, in Matthew 17, verses 14 to 20, and also Luke 9, verses 37 to 43. So how does this work? Why is it repeated 3 times? And this is also referred to by scholars as the triple tradition. And today we'll look a bit at how the 3 Gospels are interrelated. And most scholars agree that the Gospel of Mark was written first. And there we have 661 verses in total. Matthew used a lot of Mark's material. In Matthew we have 500 of Mark's verses in Matthew. And in Luke we have 350 verses of Mark's Gospel. And there's also supplemental material, and this is derived from a source that's known as Q by scholars. It refers to it being a source, or the German Quelle, and that refers to the double tradition that you only find in Matthew and Luke. But our focus today is on the triple tradition. For you to be aware of is that Mark was written first, and it was used then by Matthew and Luke also. That's why we find this triple tradition in these 3 synoptic gospels. And also what happened often is that when Matthew took over the material from Mark, he would reduce it a lot. So what Mark covers in this incident by 15 verses, Matthew covers it by 6 verses. He leaves out a lot of detail. If we go to Mark, there the evangelist gives a very colorful description of this boy and what he suffers. There, if we read from chapter 9, verses 14 onwards, the same incident. The disciples couldn't heal the boy. And now the father, he begs for help and explains about this evil spirit that's possessing his son. He describes that it's a mute spirit. And in verse 18 it says, and wherever it seizes him, it throws him down. He foams at the mouth, gnashes his teeth, and becomes rigid. So I spoke to your disciples that they should cast it out, but they could not. So Mark gives a vivid description, and Matthew, he just comes to the conclusion, okay, this boy has epilepsy. Or in that time, it actually means, the Greek word that he uses means moonstruck. And the word in Greek refers to those who have epilepsy, or it refers to people who are lunatics, because it was believed at this time that the moon somehow made people crazy or lose their minds. So Matthew reduces this account quite a bit. So let's go to Matthew's account now. In Matthew, it's just where after Jesus introduced he's going to Jerusalem and he's going to suffer and die there. Then he takes some of the disciples up to the Mount of Transfiguration. And now they come down, they discuss the identity of Elijah, who's Elijah. And now they come on the scene where his disciples could not heal this boy who suffers from epilepsy. Now, textual unit is 17 verses 14 to 20, where Jesus heals a demon-possessed boy. So when they had come to the multitude, a man came to him, kneeling down to him and saying, Lord, have mercy on my son, for he is an epileptic and suffers severely. So Matthew just summarizes there. He doesn't give that vivid description of Mark. And also typical in Matthew is people come to Jesus. They call him Son of David quite often. have mercy on me, or Lord, have mercy on me. This is also typical of chapters 8 to 9, where Jesus performs many miracles. But here a man comes to him and says, Lord, have mercy on me. He says, my son suffers from this epilepsy. And the disciples were not able to cure him. And now Jesus is furious. He said, O faithless and perverse generation, how long shall I be with you? How long shall I bear with you? Bring him here to me. And that reference to this perverse generation, that comes from the time of the Exodus. The people there were rebellious, they were disobedient, they were moaning and complaining. So already there, it refers to those people as a perverse and crooked generation. You can read that in Deuteronomy 32. So Jesus is comparing even his disciples to those rebellious and faithless people of the Exodus. And this reference to this generation happens quite often also in the Gospel of Matthew. In chapter 12, a few times, even in chapter 16 and 23. Jesus is not happy with this generation because they are rebellious. They don't have faith. They don't have trust. Now, even now, his disciples are like that because they have failed to fulfill their commission. If we go back to chapter 10, Jesus actually sent them with a commission. Go out, teach that God's kingdom has arrived. Heal, cast out demons, Jesus told them. That was the authority they've received. And now they're failing to fulfill that commission that Jesus gave them. And so Jesus was a bit angry and annoyed with them that they did not complete their commission or carry it out. Then Jesus goes on. He simply exorcises the demon. And the boy was healed, and so the disciples come to him, but why couldn't we have done this? I mean, what did we do wrong? And Jesus explains to them, there in verses 20, because of your unbelief. For assuredly I say to you, if you have faith as a mustard seed, you will say to this mountain, move from here to there, and it will move, and nothing will be impossible for you. So Jesus here in Matthew must be referring to the Mount of Transfiguration that was situated there in Galilee. If they had faith like a mustard seed, in other words, just a tiny amount of faith, they could achieve the impossible. So Jesus also actually saying, you have so little faith, or you have no faith, that even the faith of a mustard seed, a small amount, is bigger than what you have. But even that small amount, you can achieve the impossible. And of course, it's not so much about the quantity of the disciples' faith, whether it's small faith or big faith, whatever. Even a small amount of faithfulness, if it's genuine, it taps into God's power. God's power is boundless. God can do anything if we trust in that. So it's not about the quantity of our faith so much. That's not the story or the emphasis. It's about God can do anything. And if we trust in Him, in His infinite power, the impossible things can happen. So this is Matthew's account where Jesus heals a demon-possessed boy. It's the disciples failed to fulfill their commission they received in chapter 10 to go out and teach and to heal everybody. And Jesus teaches them here, even a small amount of faith, even as big as a mustard seed, it will tap into God's infinite power to accomplish what appears to be impossible.